Nearly 2 decades ago, a new youngster entered the ATP Tour with big dreams and even bigger hype. We knew he would be good, but we had no idea how he was going to perform in a decade ruled by the Big Three. Although it took him 5 years to win his first ATP title in 2013, this guy would eventually break into the top 10 and make deep runs in slams the following year, a year in which he also beat the 2013 defending champion Andy Murray in straight sets in the Wimbledon quarterfinal. By 2017, he had officially taken center stage on the ATP Tour and was busy pushing Rafa Nadal to 5 sets in the semifinals of the Australian Open. Although his performances the following seasons weren't necessarily bad, they paled in comparison to his high standards of 2017, and questions were now being asked on whether he could fulfill his potential. With frequent physical issues and a lack of consistency, the future didn't look so bright anymore. That's the story of the man who went by the name Baby Federer. But we're not here to talk about him. Today, it's all about Grigor Dimitrov. Because right now he is balling and is literally a nightmare for almost anyone on the tour.
He made me feel like I'm 13 years old. You know, it was crazy.
The consistency of beating the top players. That to me is way bigger success than anything else.
And if history tells us anything, and if what we've seen for over a year now isn't just a facade, Grigor Dimitrov, at almost 33 years old, might just have the best days of his career ahead of him.
I can still be a contender for the big titles, and I've proven it again in the past months.
We're now knee-deep into Grigor Dimitrov's resurgence, and he's been really sensational. All the request of a video on him didn't go unnoticed, of course. But just how good has Dimitrov been, putting aside the hype and the sentiments? We've seen crazy flashes of brilliance, absurd highlights, but just how consistent has the Bulgarian been over the last 12 months? Well, I've got an answer. According to almost every metric, Dimitrov is having a top 10 worthy stat in almost every category. Match win percentage, percentage of service points won, maybe just outside the top 10 in return points won in the last 52 weeks. But this year, it's been a different story. Only a handful of players have won more matches than Dimitrov in 2024. With a 22-6 record at the moment, Dimitrov has won almost 80% of his matches, and he's in exclusive company right now. And if we take a closer look at how he performs under pressure, only Djokovic, Sinner, and Alcaraz have better ratings, according to the ATP leaderboard. And when it comes to winning and deciding sets, how many players have done that more than Dimitrov? The answer? None. I studied Dimitrov's results and performances from May 2023 up until now, and in the 18 matches that went the distance, Dimitrov only lost 3 of those matches. Novak Djokovic in Rome last year, Daniil Medvedev in Vienna, and to Holger Rune in this year's Monte Carlo Masters, a match where he actually held 2 match points. So with that said, what has been the major factor behind Grigor's resurgence? Any ideas? Last year, Grigor recorded his 400th career win at the 2023 Chengdu Open and became the first man born in the 1990s or later to hit that milestone, and only the 10th active men's player. Players born in the 90s have been notoriously seen as underachievers, having been suppressed by the Big Three for most of their career, and now being overtaken by the brilliance of the next gen, but the Bulgarian has been among the few outliers. Dimitrov finished 2023 with 7 wins against top 10 players and won more matches after the US Open than anybody not named Jannik Sinner, and he's carried that form into this season, ending his title drought and playing some amazing tennis. Following his win over Zverev in Miami, Dimitrov had this to say about his resurgence.
I kept on believing, kept on doing the work, and I think that's the discipline brought me to that. I think to that moment. There's nothing else. I didn't kind of deviate from my target, not even my goal. That was just I had like small targets throughout. Every single week I had a target for. And also to be able to put my body through all that on daily basis was also very important for me.
Now, I wouldn't exactly call Grigor's resurgence a comeback per se, because he never really went away. Despite all the challenges he faced, he never left.
I never left. 15 years already, so I'm still here. I'm not going anywhere.
Dimitrov has either finished the year inside the top 20 or top 30 every year since 2013, so he's been pretty much consistent in that regard. But there was always a feeling that he might have been underachieving with his talents. Seeing him return to a level as high as his form has been in the last year is simply unbelievable, and in my opinion is deserving of all the attention. Having been kicked out of the top 10 towards the end of 2018, Dimitrov had struggled to return to that spot ever since. Last year, many of us believed that Dimitrov was already playing top 10 level tennis, but he was really just unlucky with the draws and slams. And to add to that, Alexander Zverev made it his personal mission to deny the Bulgarian on all fronts. A straight sets loss to Zverev in the round of 16 at Roland Garros, a straight set loss again to Zverev in Cincinnati, another loss to Zverev at the US Open, and a loss again in Chengdu. After winning their first encounter in 2014, Dimitrov had to face 7 consecutive losses against the German. So it couldn't have been more satisfying to see that a win over Zverev of all people guaranteed a return to the top 10 in Miami. Grigor won that match despite not boasting the shot quality that Zverev had on the serve, return, and on the backhand, as we can see from Tennis Insights. Having dealt with the mental scar tissue formed from his consistent losses to Sasha for about a decade, I'm now eager to see how their rivalry will unfold from here. Before this year, we were already hooked on Grigor's performances, but one thing was missing: an ATP title. It's a little weird to think that after his first title in 2013, Dimitrov only won titles in 2014 and 2017, which could point to a lack of consistency on that front. Sometimes he seemed to me like the kind of player who would play a few brilliant matches spaced out over the course of the year and then just disappear the rest of the time. He has always had the talent, but not the results to back it up. But after winning the title in Brisbane with an impressive win over Holger Rune in January, Dimitrov must have been happy to get the monkey off his back. A 6-year title drought ended. And for fans who might be saying, well, it's only an ATP 250, what does it matter? I'm pretty sure many of us tennis fans know how winning titles can only help one psychologically and mentally. During his period of resurgence, Dimitrov has made it to 2 Masters 1000 finals in Paris and Miami, and has also reached finals in Marseille and Geneva. A closer look at his game and some of the narratives that fans have about him might help to put some of my observations into perspective. Why does Grigor Dimitrov slice so much? I understand that many of the fans who ask this question might be casual fans who've picked up on some patterns in his game. It's a valid question because in his 25 matches that have been charted on Tennis Abstract, Grigor is over 60% on his backhand slice. That means 60% of his shots coming off the wing are slices. To put that into context, no other top 10 player can boast of more than 20% in that stat. My response to the question is that there are a million reasons why Dimitrov slices more than any player on tour with his backhand. I'm not sure if that answer was helpful. Okay, now I'm going to be sharing a few reasons why Grigor uses the slice so much and why it's so effective for him. Slicing neutralizes the opponent's ability to attack. If you take a closer look at Grigor's slices, you'll notice that they drop way lower than the slices of other players. This forces the opponent to utilize more of their racket head speed into lifting the ball, rather than trying to attack him or hit a winner like we can see here. So with the player's inability to attack those low slices, it becomes a lot easier for Grigor to pounce on their return with a forehand. Another reason why Dimitrov slices a lot is because it's a higher percentage shot for him, especially against some of the best two-handed backhands in the game. I reckon it's a lot easier for Dimitrov to trade slices than to do so with backhand topspin. It's also easier for him to redirect the ball down the line with his one-handed backhand. Also, it's important to keep in mind that a very good slice is sometimes more effective than mediocre topspin. Throughout Dimitrov's resurgence, he's always utilized a brutal change in rhythm to throw opponents off balance on their contact points, and the slice has been a really good weapon for him in that regard. There aren't many better ways to mix up the pace and change momentum. Another reason would be that a good slice is a weapon in its own right. Dimitrov's ability to slice extremely short or extremely deep, very close to the baseline, can potentially set up a next offensive move for the Bulgarian. Also, slicing short brings a player close to the net, and you can then hit them with a passing shot. It's always tricky to handle for most players. Slicing deep into the court also makes opponents uncomfortable, and unless you're maybe Rafa and a few others, you might find it difficult to take advantage of Grigor's slices. And last but not least, slicing helps a little with energy conservation when needed. Dimitrov has all the shots in the books. He reminds me of Federer. I understand that the feeling of nostalgia sometimes gets the better of us, and we're really just looking for players that were as aesthetically pleasing to watch as Roger Federer. Truth be told, their styles are a bit similar, but Roger, of course, is way more superior. I'm going to stop with the comparisons because it's like a death sentence comparing Grigor to Federer. And according to Grigor, no one should have to face those comparisons. It's just unfair.
This is, I think, that was one of the most, I would say, irrelevant comparisons in my eyes, in my view, and I think in everybody's. And what I'm the most happy with, that I made a name for myself.
That being said, I find Grigor Dimitrov to be a very interesting player to analyze. He's proven that he can go toe-to-toe with the big boys in terms of first serve speed and accuracy. His ace rate this year has also been in the double digits, and I should mention, by the way, that's better than every other member of the top 10. Well, except Hurkacz, of course. And when looking at his percentage of service points won, excluding aces and double faults, only Novak, Sinner, and Tsitsipas can boast of a better record in that stat. Also, we already know that Grigor dictates points with his forehand at every opportunity. His forehand topspin speed in particular is even better than almost every player on tour. So it's not really surprising to see that a lot of Grigor's success has come from his serve plus one combo, a big first serve and a huge forehand to take care of business. Dimitrov also stands out for his excellent first strike tennis.
His brother.
He's not the type of player to enjoy those long, boring, and often neutral rallies like Zverev and Medvedev. Among his matches that have been charted on Tennis Abstract, Dimitrov has had an outrageous 87.2% success rate on his serve and volley attempts, making him one of the most successful here. Similarly, he's also been more successful at the net than almost every player. And then we have the backhand slice, which we've already talked about extensively, and how he uses it as a setup shot for his powerful and aggressive forehand. Looking at his conversion score, which calculates the percentage of points won when a player is on the attack, Grigor topped the charts in Indian Wells. In a time where the weaknesses of the one-handed backhand have been exposed more than ever, Dimitrov has done a really excellent job in holding up and not being exploited like the others with his slice and big drive backhands. Oh, and those beautiful return winners also. Defensively, Dimitrov has been solid and has been able to steal lots of points on the defense. We also saw how consistently deep his returns could be against Carlos Alcaraz. Let's also not forget the athleticism, the physicality, and fluidity of movement, not to mention the shot making that Dimitrov brings to the table.
Oh, he's got this one as well.
The change of direction, using the entire width of the court, and the sharp angles he manages to create are some of the top reasons why Grigor's game is so captivating to watch. Oh, and I almost forgot, the highlight reels. Drop volleys, and trick shots. Dimitrov is simply one of the most entertaining players to watch. For so long, we hadn't seen him consistently healthy for long periods of time, but now we are seeing the former world number 3 on full display. Dimitrov's shot selection and dynamic game had been so captivating, but something seemed missing. There was a lack of that killer instinct at times. With those instincts now added to his game, I don't think there's a long list of players who would be eager to face Dimitrov. Dimitrov doesn't have the mental strength to defeat the very best like Sinner and Djokovic. My response to this take is, how many players can actually face this version of Sinner and even Djokovic at 70% in finals? I'm not gonna lie, we haven't always known Grigor for his mental strength against elite players in the past. Many fans loved him more for his flair and charming looks. But unless you've been living under a rock, you would have noticed that all of that has changed. The Bulgarian beat 3 top 10 players in Miami: Hurkacz, Alcaraz, and Zverev. He defeated Daniil Medvedev, Hurkacz, and Tsitsipas before losing to Nole in Paris last year. He also beat Rune in Brisbane and Beijing, and Alcaraz in Shanghai. That is a massive step up for me, so I'm not quite sure if this argument holds any water. Looking at the recent ELO ratings, Dimitrov is in the top 5. It doesn't get any better than that if you ask me. With his ultra-aggressive style of play, taking the ball early and finishing at the net, Grigor has been playing with more conviction and poise than ever, and it appears to me that one of the main factors behind his remarkable consistency of late has been the ability to unlock new levels mentally. The fact that he got beaten easily by Sinner and Djokovic in those Masters 1000 finals in Paris and Miami changes nothing, at least in my opinion. Dimitrov won't win a Grand Slam. He was unlucky to play in the Big 3 era, and right now the next gen has taken over. He will never make the most of his once legendary potential. I've seen this narrative play out over and over again. With the Big 3 winning so many slams, we sometimes tend to define success in tennis solely as winning a slam, which really shouldn't be the case. Of course, it's the ultimate goal, and even Dimitrov knows that for a fact.
You know, Grand Slam is like, I think, your own approval, I would say. And I never wanted to look at it that way, and because it's not a nice way to treat yourself, I feel, but it's also something that still keeps the fire going in me. I would say that is probably the last piece of the puzzle, really.
For much of his career, Dimitrov has been straitjacketed by comparisons to Federer, and it's left an unshakable impression on the hearts of many fans. Bagging that elusive slam might be a little bit of a stretch at the moment, but I don't really care if he never wins a slam. Dimitrov will always be an absolute joy to watch, and while we'll continue to be faced with the overwhelming temptation of expecting him to win a major, I'm not sure I would be any less satisfied if he doesn't pull off an Ivanisevic. He's already won titles on all surfaces and at all levels, including the ATP Finals, which he won in his debut. 99% of tennis players would kill for the former world number 3's career. Dimitrov turns 33 in May, and truth be told, these brilliant plays and results are not going to last forever, so we might want to enjoy it while it lasts. But with Sinner, Alcaraz, and the younger players grabbing all the headlines, the spotlight has been dimmed just enough for Dimitrov to play with more clarity than he's ever done so in his career. And he can now do so as a dark horse in major tournaments. That's not a bad place to be, not a bad place at all. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that subscribe button and let us know if you want to see deep dives on any other player or any other topics on the tours covered. And if you missed out on our TFO deep dive, I have it showing on the screen for you to watch right here.